Hey guys, Aaron Zagarba here, and welcome back to the Indie Filmmaker. And today I have my brother.
Hello.
Well, I was expecting you to say your name, but it doesn't matter. Uh, Anyways, today is a really weird episode because it's gonna have a lot of parts to it. In today's episode, we're gonna talk about a lot of our really early stuff, and then of course he was involved in filming a lot of it, or helping with it, or even acting in a lot of this stuff. So we're just gonna talk about it, and we're just gonna kind of go over some of it. It was very cringy. It was very just like weird, but it was a start, and that's what I want a lot of people to understand is a lot of your stuff when you start out is going to be pretty bad, but you also learn along the way as you keep going. But yeah, let's get started. Let's I guess talk about like the original box office movie. That was probably our first movie that we made. Uh, I guess give me some of your initial thoughts of it, and then like
Well, I was like the other dude in the office that was in the background, like the employee who was behind the cubicle. I'm trying to remember, did we do a scene where I was like peeking over the top, or was that from the newer one?
that's from the newer one. That was the one that we're actually trying to do an episode on. We had to cancel today. But anyways, we were gonna do an episode on the box office war. That was a movie we made. We did basically an iteration, and the entire high school got involved into making it. So there's a whole story behind that. But we're not talking about that today. We are talking about some of the original projects we made. So the original box office was this really terribly thrown together thing where we just had one of my friends who is like the mean boss or whatever, and I can't really remember what we did. It was not scripted at all in any way. All my other films, even though a lot of it was improv, there was still like a semblance of a script. This was probably one of my first projects, at least from what I can remember, and it was shot on this really crappy camcorder. It was all stills, and I don't even think I even moved the camera. I think the most movement the camera gets is when it was accidentally bumped and slightly moved off axis.
I think back then, as part of the original box office short film, I was like using my old HP laptop to type as if I was doing some office work. That laptop is freaking dead now. Like, it got a bunch of viruses, and then on top of that, we had a leak downstairs while my laptop was down there. But here's the funny thing, I think it still turns on if you plug it into a power outlet. It
Some
will
life
take
support.
forever for it to boot up, but it will still run. It may be on life support, but it will still run. I think I used it to play Five Nights at Freddy's Ultimate Custom Night while it was like in that life support mode because it's the only thing I have with Windows installed right now.
Uh, and honestly, when I remember when we were filming it, there was no script. It was just we had some boxes. I think we were actually packing to leave the house, and we had some boxes, and we had the green screen up. I think the original idea was we were gonna green screen an office like thing in the background or whatever. We never did that because it would have looked even worse. And basically the office workers are abused. He starts the mean boss starts docking pay, and apparently, from what I remember, my friend Nathan, that was like the mean manager or whatever, uh, came up, and I guess he just came up with this on the fly, like he basically says to 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 Brian, "I'm your manager and his manager, but you're his manager," pointing at me, and like I have very vague memories of it, but like it was super super basic, Very, very simple. And then, of course, eventually, the boss comes up and says, like, uh, you're fired, and then I'm docking your pay. And then, of course, I rage, and start, like, throwing things. And then Brian's kind of in the background, just kind of, like, doing this, and, like, tips over one box and then just does this. That's what I remember from it. Like, I'm like full on destroying the office. He just like tips over one box and then just goes, yeah. But like that's how a lot of people start out. A lot of young filmmakers have these really terrible films, and not to trash on them, because I trash on mine. But like, you know, a lot of people just they don't know what people don't know what they're doing, and you don't know how to get all these intricate shots, and you learn over time, by watching YouTube or going to college or whatever. I do both, and of course you get more experience as you do more projects over time, which is actually it's a really good idea to do smaller projects, not these big massive projects, but do small projects, and of course eventually you can build up to a big project at some point, especially if you put money aside to it, especially if it's like really important to you or whatever to make this, and you could set money aside or whatever. It depends on how you want to do it, but I do, and it is highly recommended by a lot of filmmakers to start out with the small projects. And I even right now I'm continuing to make small projects and little things and the concept ideas for things that I want to do in the future, because that's kind of how I can get an idea of what it might look like. Um, One thing that I'm doing right now is the car broke down. That's what it's called. It's uploaded on my channel. This was shot recently. It was really bad. The acting was terrible, but I feel like it was shot the way I really wanted it to. And do you have anything to comment about it, like how it was made and like what you did? Because he was cameraman, and then my friend Amos was also camera operator.
So now we're talking about the car thing that we filmed.
Yeah,
Well, I know there was this one scene that wasn't meant to be funny because the whole thing is unscripted, but Aaron's car like runs out of oil at random times, and it just like breaks down. And I didn't realize that that was something that you're supposed to assess after the car breaks down and not when it happens. So, one cut line from that is, "Do we run out of oil?"
do we want no oil? Apparently, the second that came out of Brian's mouth, Amos started to die. He just couldn't handle it. It was apparently the funniest thing he's heard in such a long time. And I, but yeah, if little things like that, making things, and it did turn out like the way it was filmed, it turned out the way I wanted it to. At least in that regard, it turned out the way I wanted it to. Maybe not the acting or whatever, but like the look of it. Because the idea is it's supposed to be shot as if it's a documentary. It's a mockumentary, hence the term mockumentary. Um, and it's meant to look like, oh, these filmmakers, they're traveling. They've been traveling for hours, and the car breaks down. The car has problems starting, and they're trying to figure it out. And then eventually, it cuts to they were able to start limping the car to a nearby gas station and hotel. And then, of course, they're like, okay, we got to stay here for the night because the car's having problems. And we're still an hour away from where we have to film, so we have to cancel that interview that they were originally planning to do. But it's a very basic idea. Very kind of simple concept. Um, Shot in that mockumentary style, which I really love. I love the mockumentary kind of look and feel. And I know some people don't really like it, but I think it has its place. And if it's used correctly, obviously. But honestly, that was fun because it gave me something to do. Um, and then of course, let's talk about Project Mindscape. We filmed that.
I didn't act in Project Mindscape, but I remember I did hold the boom mic.
Yeah, I think that was both you and Milo. I think at some point you got mad. I can't remember why he was mad, but he got mad because I think he didn't want to do it at first. Uh, but from what I remember, he was the one holding the boom mic, and it's a hard job. It really is. At first, it seems super easy, but when you actually start holding something like that, in the air for a long period of time, especially during a long take and over multiple takes, it is painful.
I think that's why I got mad
Yeah,
because I wasn't really a part of the creative process at all. And I wasn't exactly getting paid to hold up a microphone for a long time with my hands up in the air like one of those sand people from the Star Wars movies. Uh, uh.
but yeah, it's a hard job. I can even remember. Do you remember when we were filming the bit for the box office war, and Jacob was on that chair, and he was standing up on the chair and holding the boom mic? Do you not remember that at all?
Uh, no. What box? Which one?
The
Which box
one
office?
where we filmed it at the school.
I'm trying to remember what scene you're talking about.
Uh, I think it was in most of the wide shots where it was the shots of the cubicles and stuff. I think that's we kind of had the same shot for each shot where there was a cubicle scene or people talking at the cubicles, like all the me and Guy scenes that we had. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what it was like filming that. At least a little hint on where you're gonna get later when we talk about the actual box office war movie. Uh, but the Mindscape, that was interesting because I was heavily inspired by the CIA and stuff. It never turned out the way I wanted it to. The acting, once again, was not great, and all that. But the concept um would have been interesting if I really went into it because I was gonna have a full on thing behind it. Like I was gonna have a whole mystery of the number stations, these secret spy stations that existed during the Cold War, and basically they would transmit these signals, or they'd transmit over the airwaves, and anyone could listen to them. So, and this is the idea: anyone can listen to these transmissions, and they'll say a set of numbers, but only the spy out in the field and the person reading the message actually knows what the message is. And then after the message is distributed and uh, streamed over the air, the pad that they use to decipher the code is either swallowed or burnt. And then, of course, no one can figure out the codes. It's impossible. It is, and it is meant to be that way. And the amount of spying that went on in 1960s, 50s, all of that kind of stuff during the entire Cold War was just absolutely insane. And I was infatuated by it, and mainly because of Call of Duty Black Ops, the first game that they came out with. And of course, once again, I got carried away with that project. And of course, I had too many ideas going on about this that, like, I completely forgot that we're on, huge string budget. And I didn't have the willpower to write all of this stuff. At least at the time, and research and all that kind of stuff that it would have required, and prior planning to all of this kind of stuff that I wanted to add in. It was just too much for such a short little film that didn't really amount to much of anything, but it was a learning experience. And of course, it was some of the first times I really learned to edit because my friend Caleb actually showed me a free video editor where I kind of first learned editing. It wasn't a great video editor, it was called Movavi, and I just learned how to edit. and that was some of the first steps I really made, at least when it comes to editing and stuff like that.
I don't even think it was free. I think it just had like a free trial
I think I had the
version.
free trial version for a while, and then eventually we paid for it. Like we put our money together, and then me and you had it for a while on the those really crappy laptops.
That reminds me of the Batman parody movies that I used to do. I made, well, I almost made two of them. I remember one I made on like that HP laptop that I mentioned is on life support now. And I got that idea after seeing the built-in video editor. It's not a great video editor, but it allowed me to do stuff like add in explosions, which for someone who only had like a built-in camera on a Kindle Fire before then, this was like revolutionary.
Yeah.
And then when I got Movavi and you borrowed Aaron's webcam, well, not webcam,
My
the
camcorder.
camcorder they used to use, that was like the next step up. I mean, it still wouldn't have looked great, but it was the next step up. I think I remembered for one of the scenes in the first Batman parody movie, I wanted to like have blood. I tried to use ketchup, but because the webcam is so low quality, it couldn't catch any of the red on my face.
The webcams they had were just absolutely atrocious. I kind of remember it.
But the second Batman movie, it never got finished. But one thing that I really enjoyed about that is getting to test out green screen effects
Oh
for the
yeah,
first
that was our
time.
that was some of my first experiences with green screening and keying. It was a very simple, crappy green screen, but I used it a lot in my early days of YouTube and stuff like that. Um, I remember a lot of stuff we did. I think there's probably a bunch of projects that are saved on there. I need to figure out how to get my laptop like cleaned up so I can actually gather any file.
What was that?
It was one of the clamps. It like came off or something. But like I grabbed it's fine. It's fine. It's one of those stupid clamps that's holding the thing together for some reason. I don't know why I did that. But I remember like there's probably a bunch of files on that thing, on that computer of like saved projects. I should probably go on there and like grab them when I can and put them on a hard drive because there's probably a bunch of saved projects on there that have just been kind of lost to time. Because Mubabi was truly my first experience editing, and it was interesting learning how to do it. And then Caleb showed me how to do it, and Caleb showed me how to cut things and all that. And yeah, it was actually pretty nice because you get to learn how to do something, and it was small steps. I didn't start out using Premiere. Now Premiere is my main editing platform, and I pay like $30 a month for it, and it takes a heavy toll on my wallet, and that's really fun to pay every month. But yeah. Nice thing though about Adobe is you get all these professional features. You get like the whole cloud bundle together with everything. So if you're constantly editing videos, you need to encode footage and stuff like that. I highly recommend Adobe. But anyways, going back to the Project Mindscape and all that kind of older stuff. There's like the Number Stations film that was also it was going to be connected to it. It was very simple. All it was just me reading off a set of random numbers that I was then later gonna like translate and like have like deciphered as like, oh, it's the Russian missiles or whatever, or something like that. It's something really crazy or whatever. And it was gonna relate to like the Project Mindscape movie. And of course it never did. It never amounted to anything, and I never like actually did anything with it, even though I wanted to. But like the amount of research and stuff that I feel like I would have to do to like get that together, and it was too much. It was too much for such a small project, for two small projects. And I think they were also filmed on the same day as well, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, they were fun. They're fun projects, and I built off of them, and I learned like lighting and stuff. One of my favorite shots in the Project Mindscape film is when you get a POV shot of Caleb, who is the Russian like scientist or whatever, and like all you see is these big bright lights shining on to him, and like he's like just like disoriented and whatever, and the camera's a little blurred, and then it zooms in to me standing there in the suit, and I'm like the CIA agent. And of course, it sees me, and he's like waking up. And then the next shot goes to me, where I like slam something down on the table, if I'm remembering correctly. And like, I'm like, "What is your name?" And like, yeah, the acting was awful, but honestly, the amount of stuff you learn in every single project, it's a buildup. Um, and then I'm trying to think of some of the other. I remember I helped you with some of your Batman films, right?
I think you acted in like the second one I was doing. I think Nate was in like the first one.
You mean Nathan?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nathan. But I think I used Movavi more for making YTPs than I did for the Batman movies. I
Oh
feel like
yeah.
the I feel like if I looked back at the Batman movies today, they would probably seem pretty cringe, but as for the YTPs, I think those probably would have like aged better as like actual funny stuff that I did back then.
And then you learn how to do editing, and like,
Yeah. I learned how to like chroma key images. The problem is with some of the YTPs, I had to like look up images that specifically contained a green screen. But I eventually learned how to like use this photo editor that was built into the HP laptop that let me like cut out the background.
mm,
However, it took a long time because I needed to like carefully maneuver the mouse using the trackpad and there's like a thing you can use on Movavi that determines how many colors are going to get chroma keyed, like what percentage of all reds or something like that.
oh yeah,
Anyways,
I remember that.
I didn't know how to use that originally. So I think for one of my YTPs, I used the like chroma key feature and accidentally like chroma keyed some of the other colors that I didn't want gone. So it looked really weird. I think I've seen some other inexperienced YouTubers make the same mistake because the chroma key, like for example, if you're going to cut out the green background, it's going to want to cut out all the other greens in the image.
Oh yeah, it's it was definitely a time of experimentation. I remember. What I remember is I remember he made one of the Batman movies, and it was at like a McDonald's for some reason. That's all I really remember. And then I think it was he was fighting the Joker. I
No, it
can't
was
remember.
some fat guy that was like a parody of Batman villains,
Oh,
like the Hamburglar or something.
I kind of remember. Was it Nathan that did that, or was it me?
No, it was you. You had like a pillow under your
Oh
t-shirt.
yeah. We need to find those and get those off of the computer somehow, and like just upload them somewhere as like this the archive of all the old films that started us out. And then to go back even further, which I don't even know how I'm gonna get these off, which I know there's somewhere on my computer. We used to film a lot, and I mean a lot, on the Nintendo 3DS. and the camera was absolute. If you think some of the videos that some of my really old stuff looked bad, like quality wise, like resolution wise, you look at the 3DS camera and come back to me on that, because that thing is a nightmare. It's absolute, just, oh my god,
I
it's
think the
horrible.
screen resolution for the 3DS is like 240p.
Yeah, it's not even one.
Although, oh,
It's
it's
not,
probably a higher resolution than like the old CRT TVs because it was also widescreen, so that would have given it extra pixels.
but like I know that mini DV, right? I think has more resolution than that, and like, which is crazy to think about because it's supposed to be quote unquote newer technology. Like, when did the 3DS come out? It was like,
It was 2011, but the focus wasn't on making a quality camera. It was on
yeah,
making a game system, and
and that
a
camera was
big
just
part of the
extra.
budget would have gone into the 3D feature. I think the camera was like brought over from the DSi, which
just as an
also
extra.
had a camera feature, but it was only for photos. So now that you have the 3DS, which could actually take videos.
And the videos were awful, but I remember we filmed in my aunt's basement once, with all just like the cousins were together. We had some big family gathering, and we were up at my aunt's house, and we would regularly go into the basement, and we just do stuff because there's all kinds of cool stuff we could find in the basement, and like the basement was kind of like the hangout place for all the kids and stuff. So we'd like go there. We'd find all kinds of cool, weird stuff. My aunt has, I truly think she has like an addiction to buying weird things, uh, like different weird toys or whatever. Like, she had this like balloon thing that you'd fill up with air, and it was this black thing, and then like you'd leave it out in the sun, and it would be able to like rise into the air or whatever. She had weird toys. She also had whoopee cushions. She had just all kinds of stuff like silly putty and stuff. She used to actually regularly send us toys when we used to live further away. And she would regularly send us just like weird little goodie bags with like weird toys and maybe a movie or something. Anyways, we'd all hang out in the basement, and we actually filmed a couple things of it just like playing in the basement or whatever. And it's very nostalgic for me. It wasn't really anything regarding like actual storytelling. I think the most I probably did regarding that was probably when I filmed a video that was supposed to look like a World War II battle or whatever on the DS, which actually kind of made it look like extremely degraded war footage. But even then, when you look at a lot of the actual historical footage nowadays, it's fairly well kept and fairly well restored. Uh, Especially since, it's film. There's no set resolution to film, and that's the thing that most people don't understand. Film's heck expensive. It's extremely expensive to film with because it's a physical medium, and you're like, there's no do-overs. Once it's exposed to that light, it's exposed. It's done. You can't like redo it. You just go.
One
Um,
thing that was really fun with the 3DS is that I used to make stop motion animations with the Legos.
Oh, yes, I remember that. I remember I'd get like army men and do stop motion battles with it, and I'd like get like cotton swabs or whatever, like, and like actual cotton balls to look like explosions, and then like cotton swabs. Like, I'd take the bits off of cotton swabs and put it on their rifles to make it look like they're shooting and stuff. That was cool. Um, but like with film, there's no set resolution, and there's no like um there's no set resolution, and you can basically, once you like, let's say you scan it, you can scan it at any like resolution or whatever. I don't know the entire process, but basically you can keep scanning film as long as it's, kept well or whatever, and like it's, taken care of. then it should be scannable. Of course, it's going to degrade over time, like all things do. Things are going to degrade over time. It's probably going to take much longer, but now we also have a lot of people that are archiving a lot of this, especially on the Internet Archive. Anyways, I'm getting off track. Uh,
So, on the topic, we were talking about old stuff that we used to film. I remember, or you know what, this old stuff that we used to like make when it comes to like video stuff. I remember that during my YTP era with Movavi, a lot of those YTPs, they never made it onto the internet because I didn't know how to upload on YouTube. And I think there was also this thing with Movavi that I never figured out how to do where you turn the movie into a just regular video file rather
yeah,
than just something
where you
that
basically export it
you export it.
and turn it into a video file.
I don't think I ever exported any of those, and now those YTPs, they're just trapped on the
Just
computer.
trapped in like eternal purgatory on that computer, just begging to be released.
I think if I like was really patient, I could and really diligent when it comes to searching for that computer, I could maybe find that computer, wait for it to take forever, boot up, try and get Movavi to work, and then just barely be able to export it and upload it to my YouTube channel using that computer. And then after that, I never use the computer ever again. There is one other thing that I'd want to use that computer for. So we had a film class back in high school, and one of our assignments was that we needed to do a commercial. Daniel did this weird advertisement for his eggs.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And I was originally going to do a commercial for Flex Seal because that was like the meme at the time. But then I switched over to making a commercial for the Nintendo DSi. But I kind of like made it a parody of those types of commercials where they would always advertise stuff like the DVD player functionality because it was like the 2000s. So I said, it even plays DVDs. I just put DVD into the DS and clamped it down like, yeah, it's going to read it like that. And then I said, even does Blu-ray. And then I freaking the Kamehameha wave over the DS and then cut to the scene from Sonic Adventure 2 where the moon gets blown up.
Oh, man. I remember actually.
And then I made fun of scalpers because I said it was for the low price of ah. And then I cut to the freaking prices on eBay or something. Although I think, in all honesty, the DSi, it's one of the more affordable Nintendo DS systems. I think if you're looking for something like the original DS model, which is like this power tool looking thing that has this chrome finish and it's really bulky, that would go for a higher price because I don't think as many people bought those. I think it was like around 2006 with the DS Lite and New Super Mario Brothers that the Nintendo DS really started picking up steam and ended up becoming like the best-selling video game console of all time, second to the PS2.
Honestly, I remember when we were in that class. Do you remember Mr. Sean's commercial?
Mr. Sean's the teacher. He made a commercial?
Yeah, he had a commercial. Is this a weird commercial? Is this art video he did, and apparently you combine the video. It's supposed to be like, you know when you have a commercial, and like you have absolutely no idea what the commercial is until at the very end of the commercial they have like their logo like, oh, it's Honda. I would have never guessed that this was a car commercial at all because they showed literally no cars. Or the car was not like the main focus. It's like so dumb. It makes you like but that's kind of what he was doing. He's doing a parody. He had an art thing that he previously recorded apparently, and then I think he was like I can't remember what he was doing. I just remember he was painting his face and he was going like, and it's supposed to look very dramatic or something like that. And then it just shows a picture of Gold Star Chili, like the entire restaurant, Gold Star Chili. And that's it. That's the commercial. I remember that. That was so funny. It was just
It reminds me of this one commercial for the original Xbox. Basically, it's at this hospital, and then this baby gets projectile birthed out of the room. And then flies through the window of the hospital and flies outside, and the whole time the baby just like grows up into a kid and then into an adult and then into an old man in midair and then falls into a grave site and dies. And think about that. They had that preemptively dug for that baby.
my
And then it just
God.
cuts to life is short. Play more. Like, oh, this is an Xbox commercial? I would have never guessed.
Oh man. And then I remember we did the silent film. So this is kind of the lead up to how the Core Academy film got made, which actually I think is kind of nice to have this episode come out first before the actual episode of the Core Academy thing, where we're gonna have a couple people from that actually were involved in it. Um. Anyways, what happened was we're doing this class, we're making videos. We made a documentary video or whatever. I made a documentary video. I can't remember all the assignments, but we had a couple where they were normally just very short videos, and then he had an assignment where he was like, "Hey, take one of your favorite moments from one of your favorite movies and like a scene, and just do a scene from your favorite movie." And then of course people did that. People took different scenes from their movies. I barely remember it. I remember we did a fantastic Mr. Fox scene, and it was awful. I can't even remember which one we actually finally submitted because I think we filmed a couple. Like we filmed like the scene of where Badger and Mr. Fox are like screaming and say, "The cuss you are you cussing with me?" And then they're like growling at each other, walking around the table.
That
and
was
then they stop.
bad.
Oh yeah, that was awful. And like then of course there's the scene where he's having an existential crisis where Mr. Fox is having this crisis and he's like, "Who am I, Kylie?" And he's like at the top of the tree and he's like Kylie's like, "Who, how, what now?" Cuz Kylie's always just like out there just completely just non-focused on anything that's happening, and you never really know if Kylie is actually listening to like anything you're saying. Anyways, we filmed that, uh, submitted it for the class. I can't remember which one we did. Anyways, working on all these projects, and then we decide, what if we do a silent movie, like the old silent movies where they play with the piano as the only music, and then the only thing you see to actually understand what's happening is the actors' extremely exaggerated, like, actions, and, maybe some text where they put some text on, like, the actual film and say, "Oh, there's you bloody turd," or whatever. They're like, yelling or whatever. They actually put the physical text and you would read it. And anyways, um we did that, and then that's kind of I think where it began. Because then we were like, hold on a minute. What if we'd get the entire high school involved into making an entire short film? So then we start throwing stuff at the wall. We start writing things down. Of course, Michael's idea was let's have a movie about me on a motorcycle, and that was his entire idea. Just the motorcycle, him riding on the motorcycle. And then I think a couple of people had some other ideas. I cannot remember what it was. Then I was like, I got inspired because I saw something on, well, I saw a video about it. It was about like I think a Facebook or Twitter post about like some alien invasion or whatever, and it was really interesting because it was just how it was filmed or whatever, because it's all filmed like on someone's phone from their perspective, and they're posting about it and they're like, what's happening? Anyways, I was like, what if we do something like that? And then we were like, you know what? Let's redo that box office movie I made a while back with Nathan and Brian. And that was awful. What if we get an entire team behind it this time? We have actual actors. Well, not actors, but like people actually, more people acting in like actual like office kind of attire. And then we also have people with like the boom mic and stuff. So now I've also had better equipment at this time now. I have better cameras, I have more lenses and stuff to work with. But yeah, what were you trying to say?
I think I had an idea for like maybe making a martial arts film, just because I had some experience with martial arts, but I don't think we could have really done something like that, because I think to make a martial arts film, we would have wanted to like film at multiple locations. But
Yeah.
what ended up happening is most of the stuff would be filmed at the school.
Okay. So, I've pulled up some of these designs. These are very, very basic. But we had Mr. Sean, is what we called him, uh, the teacher who was in charge of the class, draw up a bunch of stuff. So this is when we finally came up with the idea. Okay, we're gonna do the office idea. We're gonna do like, and I was even talking to Nick about it. I was saying like, how are you gonna film this or whatever, coming up with ideas. We're all like throwing things at the wall. We know we have a basic idea that there's gonna be an angry boss, and then the people are gonna like revolt in some way. The office workers are gonna revolt. Oh my gosh, I forgot. Look at this. Uh, Joe's name was actually Perry, and then they wrote Perry on the desk. These are some really nice shots too, by the way. Like, you got the shot of people sitting in this, and it's a scroll by. When you get this shot, it's a dolly shot, and what we did essentially was get one of these little television push carts, and then put the tripod on top of it, and then had a wide shot, and then panned, and pushed the cart, and just moved it very slowly to give this shot effect. And then when you get it later back in the editing, you actually see basically um this long shot, this scroll by, and you're showing off the office cubicles, and it's basically like a short ad for the company, and they're saying, look at these comfortable cubicles we have coffee, we have donuts, we have all these nice things. And then the next thing you cut to, so they're praising the office in this commercial, and they're saying, we look at the great work environment, everybody likes to work here. And then cut to Aiden McDaniel, who is the janitor in the movie, and he's like, never paid, never paid. Gosh, I hate this job. I hate everything. It's such a great contrast. I actually really love that edit because it was so perfect to like you have it in like this fake identity or view of the office that the office is trying to portray to get more people to come work for them. And then the reality is this job is this job sucks. And so now you got this are some scenes that we didn't add, where they're like transferring folders and like typing on the computer. We did add the coffee scene where you're putting coffee in. I had it in the Keurig, and then I'm trying to tell what some of these are. And then we got a scene where Joe's on the phone, the receptionist, all that kind of stuff. Um, this is the main idea. We got these are all the characters. The boss, Mr. Eggerson, the CEO, Isaac, Carl, one of the main workers, played by me, Steve, played by Guy, one of the other main characters, Andrew, the janitor, which is Aiden McDaniel, the HR, HR is Isaac P. I don't think we kept him in this.
Isaac
Harold,
Powell.
yeah, Isaac Powell. Harold Richardson. Perry is the receptionist, which is Joseph or Joe, as we call him. Dean, which is Brian's character, uh, and he's another worker. All these are office workers. Mark, wait. Oh, Dean was originally played by Michael. And then we didn't have Michael. Okay, I forgot. Some of this switched over. And then Mark was supposed to originally be Brian. And then we got Jesse, office worker Eva? Okay, I kind of remember this. So a lot changed. We also had a CEO. Oh wait, Isaac H. Yeah, CEO. Sorry. A lot changed when we actually filmed this, and a lot of these different people became unavailable. The idea was we were going to have a whole lot more people and side characters, and there was going to be a whole lot more to make it look more lively, to seem more like a bigger office. But in reality, we had only a few handful of people. Then we got the box office rage teammate uh, tentative style. I cannot read this. It's really hard to read. Oh, there we go. Now I can read it better. Uh, passive aggressive boss. These are all like the ideas we wrote down. Boss starts clamping down excessively. Uh, two core characters devise the plan. Basically, the two main characters, me and Guy, come up with the idea to, okay, you know what? Things have gone so bad. We're gonna literally just riot. We're gonna burn the office down. We're gonna like, stuff is about to go down. Boss takes away the bagels and the coffee, which is a nightmare. This is like one of the big things that sets Guy's character off, because his character's emotionally attached to bagels, apparently. And then, of course, there's the revolt. Uh, the CEO fires the boss, Mr. Eggerson, and hires a new guy. And then the new guy's, not a jerk. He's just a normal person that's just working there and actually cares about the employees. But yeah. And then there's some more pictures, I guess. Props, coffee, supplies, mop. I guess these were just more pictures of kind of the same stuff. But yeah, that's kind of what happened. But yeah, that was kind of the basic breakdown of what happened. At least in the beginning stages. And then, of course, in the next episode, I hope to actually talk about the box office movie and actually have people on that were actually involved in the project. And yeah, basically, it was very interesting because we were working with multiple people who are on different ends of the spectrum. Some people have autism, some people have ADHD, all that kind of stuff. Um, and some people like they can't physically stay still. And I get that. I have ADHD and I struggle to stay still a lot of times. And some people were really on like the higher end, some were on the lower end. So it's very different. So you have multiple sets of people on different ends, and trying to get everyone focused on a task. So we have people working on making the boxes for the actual cubicles and Daniel's office, and all that kind of stuff. And we got all this stuff coming in, and it's just really interesting. The amount of work. It wasn't a great film. It really wasn't some masterpiece or anything. And it's a little funny, not really, absolutely, rib, busting or whatever, funny, but like it was something that we created. We got an entire high school together to make this, and this at a private school, by the way. We probably would have never gotten a chance to make this at an actual public school high school. Um, Most likely that would never have gotten approval, but we actually got approval. We started making it. We started putting things together. We wrote a script. We were actually through a lot during a lot of the days when the idea was first started and we came up with the idea. We started typing things up in I remember Miss Lloyd's class. Um and we were typing it up. We had people coming up with ideas. We had Guy, we had Brian, we had Cameron, we had all these people typing things up. And then, of course, I think Cameron was the main person that was kind of editing things I'm awful at writing, so I need also other people to help spell check me and all that kind of stuff. So we had this entire team doing things, and of course, Miss Lloyd also kind of helped us with snacks too, and keeping the students focused because she's a teacher, she's a figure of authority. She helped kind of keep everybody saying, "Hey, we need to stay focused. If we're gonna film this, we need to people to make the glue the boxes together, and all that kind of stuff." And then of course Brian's acting in it. So he's playing a character, and then I'm playing a character. Guy is a lot of my friends are playing different characters, and then some of them are also working behind the scenes, working with the cameras, working with the lights. So I'm also, while I'm acting, I'm also directing and teaching people all at the same time, which is a very stressful situation, which is not the best. And normally a director is not in the movie, except for a few times when a director might voice a character or whatever. Uh, if I'm remembering correctly, Wes Anderson in Mr. Fox was actually the Weasel. I think he was Weasel, if I'm remembering correctly. Uh, anyways, normally director is busy, directing. So it was really stressful. So Cameron actually took the role of assistant director, so he actually helped a lot with my sanity because I was losing it on the movie. I was enjoying it. I was having best time of my life, but I was also hating it because I had to deal with Daniel. And at the time, Daniel was not fully mature. Now he's a completely different person. Uh, he's extremely professional now, but back then, he's a kid. Everybody there was a kid, and everybody's like, especially Daniel was like goofing off. Well, we're trying to focus to try to film these scenes, and it's just working with that and learning to be patient, and that was one thing that I had to really learn, especially working with people, like that. Is you just gotta have patience and you just gotta wait, and you can't let because I'm panicked a lot of the time because I'm worrying about getting things done in a certain time period because the school is only allocating a certain amount of time for us to film things and get things done. Uh, I'm guessing that was also your experience. I'm trying to remember some of the other things you did besides acting. Did you help glue boxes or anything?
I might have helped set up some boxes.
I I remember it was actually kind of almost monumental effort because
One problem that we ran into was that at the same time that the box office movie was being done as a school project, they were doing a play for Robin Hood,
oh, that's what it was.
and let me d- that limited who we could have on the movie.
Oh yeah, that heavily
Mainly
limited.
Aiden McDaniel.
Yeah, because he was the janitor. Originally, he was going to be in the fight scene. I think if I'm remembering correctly, he wasn't there that day. So what we did is we literally changed the script and we said, oh, you know what he's doing since he's not on screen, continuity error. We're just gonna have a scene where he's in the bathroom and he runs out of toilet paper. And he's like, oh no. And like he basically says, "Oh, I really should have gone to the revolution." Oh, and he's like having a bad time in the bathroom, and then he runs out of toilet paper. And then Joe's character is also somehow magically in the bathroom, and then he throws the toilet paper into the stall, and then it just cuts back to the battle. Well, battle where all they're doing is just rioting and destroying the office. That was an expensive, quote unquote, expensive scene because what we had to do was wait. So we filmed all the other scenes before that, filmed all of them, and then at our final scene, our martini shot, um, was the destruction of the office, because at the very end of the movie, the new boss comes in, and you see boxes. The idea is you see boxes, the box office, and the cubicles are still there, and that's because the office was repaired or whatever, and it's a time skip basically. Um, I didn't put that, but like that's the idea that you can tell there's obviously change, and the boxes are back, and not everything's absolutely destroyed because the new boss is back, and the situation is going to be way better. So we filmed all of those scenes before out of order, which a lot of times you might have to do when you're making a movie. You might have to shoot things out of order for weird things like that, where you have continuity error. You don't want these things to be destroyed. Your set to be destroyed when you still have scenes that need to be done. So that's basically what we did. We destroyed the set on the very last day, and then I remember after the destruction scene, we took everything down and threw it in the trash. So it was a fun. It was so fun making that, and it is the lead up to this. The build up of Project Mindscape, the original box office movie, all of these projects, and then now I've made other films before that, after that, like the no clip short film and the documentaries and stuff like that. And then now recently, one of my recent projects, which is right now just more of a concept, the car broke down, which is this really, you know, terribly acted, but like interestingly shot thing where it's supposed to look like a bunch of filmmakers driving somewhere. Um, but yeah, it's that build up, and you build it up over time, and that was probably the biggest project I have organized. I still think today. I still don't think that any of my other projects have been as big, and it's mainly because I just haven't had or needed that many people, I guess. And at college, you have people dealing with multiple time schedules. So the nice thing about high school was everybody was there. You know, besides some of the people that left for going to the the play, but the main group of people that we wanted were there, that we're gonna get, and of course we rewrited things because we knew that we couldn't get these people. Um, so, anyways, that build up, and that was still till this day one of my biggest projects with the most amount of people that I had to direct and corral. And of course, a bunch of other people helped me. Our mom was a teacher there. She kind of helped corral people and helped students with things. And Miss Lloyd and a bunch of the other teachers kind of helped and get the little ones out of the way from us filming and things like that. And all that kind of stuff. It was a big project for a bunch of high schoolers, and it was so fun. It really was. It was so fun filming it, and I really hope to maybe do some form of a continuation, even if it's kind of different. I'd love to do a continuation of that, but you can see the build up over time of how things have changed and how things have gotten different because with the no clip short film with Toby. And Brian, have you seen the entire film?
The no clip film?
Yeah, I
I
think
think
you
so.
have. And you remember the chase scene with Toby? He plays both the monster and the survivor that's lost his mind. It's perfect, and he was the one that actually came up with this idea to cover himself in tomato sauce to make himself look distorted and weird because it's a silhouette. You're not going to see the tomato sauce. You're not going to notice it's tomato sauce. It's not even going to look like tomato sauce. He's not going to look like Spaghetti Man. He's going to look like the demon from hell coming out of the depths of the back rooms, coming to absolutely just destroy me. But yeah, that's basically and things like that, and learning how to work with people, and obviously you're gonna have to listen to your director, you know, but also coming up with ideas like that, like I would have never thought of that idea. The main reason we didn't do it was only because I was scared that we'd get in trouble. That is literally only the only reason why we didn't do it. If I wasn't scared of getting in trouble, um, then I probably would have filmed it and gotten all the tomato sauce from Walmart, bought it all, and just dumped it all on Toby and just had him run after me like an absolute madman. But of course, unfortunately, we didn't. We had another idea of doing a smiler, another monster in the back rooms, where basically we're gonna have like this black thing, and the only thing you're gonna see was these Christmas lights, that are going to look like a smile and some eyes. And that was going to be it. That was another concept we threw at the wall. We didn't do it, but we were also rushed for time, so we could only do so much. But I feel like now, if I were to do it, where I'm not horribly rushed for time, um, I could actually do a lot more of that stuff. And I really like that idea of being able to look at your past and you're able to build up. And that's how a lot of people are going to start. And you're going to make projects. You're going to continue on. You're going to keep pushing forward. And do not get bogged down with the idea that I have to have these extremely fancy equipment and stuff. Really, what you need for a really good film is good writing and good storytelling. That's what you really need for good film. Um, and of course, I think having at least decent actors is definitely a big piece. But if the storytelling and all that is awful, people aren't gonna watch it. And audio is very important because if the audio sounds absolutely atrocious, it's gonna be painful for people to listen to. But point is that you're gonna start out small. And my professor's friend went into that cycle of I have to have this extremely fancy equipment to get stuff done. And he actually gave up on filmmaking. It's very sad because he thought to film his dream project or whatever, he had to have thousands of dollars to throw at the wall. And he gave up. He didn't continue. He probably had his own version of the Batman films. He had his own version of his own equivalent of the box office movies and all that, probably when he was probably younger and all that kind of stuff. I don't know him personally. I just know the stuff that my professor has told me about him. But yeah, he probably had all that stuff, and then he forgot that you just gotta build up over time. It's a long process. It's something that's going to take time, and that's I think something that I want to have everybody kind of take away in this episode. This episode's been going on too long, and I've been rambling too long. Brian's staring into the abyss right now, completely zoned out. But yeah, don't let that control you. Don't let fear control you. Don't let the idea that like I have to do this extremely fancy project and I can't do it unless I have thousands of dollars to throw at the wall. That's not how you make films. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes short little projects to build up to the big ones. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you got something out of this. I really hope y'all guys can really get some substance from this and understanding, it takes time. Because that is definitely something I have to struggle with a lot. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.